Okay, this is our lesson on 6.2, counted repetition 1. We're going to follow this up with a lesson, another lesson on counted repetition. That'll be counted repetition 2. So what you should have downloaded by this point is this file, counted repetition 1.t. I've got it right over here. And I am going to open this up in Turing right here. And there we go. We got a little bit of stuff already in there. Okay. So here we are, counted repetition 1. This demonstrates what we mean by a counted loop. I am, of course, there's my name right there. So we just have two little examples that we're going to do in here. First one is going to be a counted loop. And what do we mean when we say a counted loop? Well, a counted loop is just a loop that repeats a specified number of times. Okay. So how can we do this? Well, let's do something similar to what we had before. We're going to make a little program that will read in words and let the user read in words, and it'll keep reading in words, and we'll just have it repeat a specified number of times. We'll say it will read in 5 words. So we want to have our program repeat until, let's spell until correctly, until 5 words have been entered. Okay. So what are we going to need here? We're going to need a variable. Let's call this thing word again, var word. We're going to make this a string. Okay. And inside our loop down here, so I'm going to make a loop and then an end loop. Okay. Inside this loop, we are going to just use a get word to read these words in. Now, if we want this thing to repeat exactly 5 times, we are going to have some way of counting how many times it is repeated. So we're going to need what we call a counter. So we'll call this our counter variable. And we'll just call it count. So var count, and we'll make this an integer. And we want it to start at 0, because that's where we're going to start counting. So at the very beginning of our program, we haven't gone through the loop any time, so our counter starts at 0. So I'm just going to write in here, starts at 0. Each time we get a word in, we want to count that we have gotten 1 word in. So we are going to add 1 to our counter each time through, with each word. Okay. So each time through this loop, we're going to take count, and we're going to set it equal to whatever we had in count before, plus 1. So we get a word in, we add 1 to count. We get another word in, we add another 1 to count. Now, how do we get this thing to stop when we get to 5 times? Well, if this thing is repeated 5 times, our counter should be at 5. So we can use an exit when count equals 5. And let's just run this and see if it does what we expect. Example 1, a counted loop. Well, it doesn't tell us what we're supposed to be doing, but we know what we should do. We should start entering words. I'll enter in 1, then I'll enter in 2, then I'll enter in 3, then I'll enter in 4, then I'll enter in 5. And sure enough, after I've entered in 5 words, the loop ends, and I can move on. Okay? So what I might want to do to sort of pretty this up a little bit is, at the very beginning, put a prompt that is going to tell the person what to do. Enter in 5 words. Okay? And now if I run it, it says enter in 5 words. Okay. We'll say uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, and there we go. Okay. So there is a simple counted loop because it repeats only that specified number of times. Now we can also combine what we talked about yesterday in the previous lesson with conditional loops with this idea of counting. So we can have what's called a counted conditional loop. What's going to make this a conditional loop is it's going to repeat until a certain condition is met. Okay? And what makes it counted is that we're going to count how many times it repeats. So I'm going to comment out our first example here. So comment range. Okay? So we're just working away on our second example here. So once again, we are going to have the same thing here, var word string, and we'll have an integer for our counter, and we'll start it off at 0. Okay. And then this time our instructions will be type words, type stop to quit, or to stop typing in words. So we want this loop to repeat until the person types in stop. Okay. So again, we're going to need a loop and an end loop, and all the stuff that we want repeated goes in here. So we want get word, and we're going to exit when word equals stop. So when they enter that word, stop, that's when it's going to exit start a loop. Okay. And what do we want to do? Well, we still want to use our counter here. So each time we get in a word, we are going to add one to our counter. Count colon equals count plus 1. And at the very end here, we could put something nice that says put you entered count words. So what this should do is it should let them type in words, keep letting them type them in. Each time it reads in a word, it's going to add it to the counter. It's going to exit when they enter the word stop, and then it's going to output how many words they typed in. So let's just see if that's what happens here. Oh, I got an error here. What's with my error? Oh, I got an extra space in there, right? So get rid of that space, and that should work a little bit better. Okay, type words, type stop to quit. This is just some whatever. Okay, and then finally, I type in stop, and it tells me that I entered in 8 words. Now, I might want to fancy this up a little bit by numbering the words as the person typed them in. So just before my get here, I could do something like put count. And then 2 dots at the end here. So what is this going to do? Well, before they type in a word, it's going to output the current value of count and then a colon. So it's numbering each of these words as the person types them in. So let's see. Type words, type stop to quit. It starts us off at 0, which might not be what we want, but let's see what happens here. That, and that. Okay. So, entered 6 words. Okay, so it's a little bit weird here because it starts off the numbering at 0, then goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it tells me that I've got 6 words. So instead of outputting count, maybe I want to add 1 to count there, and that'll fix that numbering issue. So my first word there is, I don't know, fish. My second word here is minnow. My third word is tuna. My fourth word is stop. And then it tells me you've entered 4 words, and it has them numbered nice and correctly.